there, children! I welcome you in Interklас. Let's learn some English. Today we continue reading an exciting and absorbing story. Сьогодні ми продовжуємо захоплюючу історію. It's about Sherlock Holmes, a private detective created by British author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Йдеться про Шерлока Холмса, приватного детектива, створеного британським письменником сером Артуром Конаном Дойлем. Last week we listened to the second chapter where Holmes and Dr. Watson find out about the disappeared diamond and put the advertisement to the newspaper about the found goose and hat. Минулого тижня ми слухали другий розділ, де Холмс і доктор Ватсон дізнаються про зниклий діамант і подають оголошення до газети про знайдений гусака і капелюх. Now let's finish this chapter and find out more about this case. Тож тепер давайте прочитаємо наступний розділ і дізнаємось більше про цю справу. But you should be very attentive. After that you will have a task. Але ви маєте бути дуже уважними, адже після цього ви маєте завдання.
Holmes took the blue diamond in his hand and looked at it. "What a beautiful thing," he said. "Look at the wonderful colours in it. Dark blues and cold whites. All big jewels make people into thieves and killers in the end. This one comes from the south of China, near the Amoy River. It's only 20 years old, so it's a young thing. But already, many terrible crimes are happening because of it. I'm going to put it in my safe now, and then let's write a letter to the Countess of Morcar and say we have her beautiful blue diamond here with us." "But Holmes," I said, "I don't understand. Is that young man Horner innocent, after all?" "I don't know." "And what about Henry Baker? The tall man with the hat and the goose? Is he the jewel thief, perhaps?" "No, I don't think he is. I believe he's an innocent man. I don't think he knew there was an expensive diamond in his goose, a jewel worth more than £20,000. But let's wait and see. Perhaps Mr. Baker's going to answer our advertisement this evening, and then we can learn something more about him." "All right," I said. "I can come back after work this evening. I'm very interested in the answer to this case." "Good," replied Holmes. "Dinner is at 7 o'clock. I got to Baker Street at 6:30 that evening. There was a tall man already at Sherlock Holmes's front door when I came down the street. He wore a long winter coat and had a Scottish hat on his head. When I arrived next to him, the door opened. Mrs. Hudson, Holmes's housekeeper, said, 'Good evening' to the two of us, and we went in and upstairs to Holmes's room. "Mr. Henry Baker, I believe," said Holmes to the man when he came in. "Please, sit down." Holmes looked at me and smiled. "Ah, Watson, good. You are here when we need you." Then he looked back at his other visitor. "Is that your hat, Mr. Baker?" Mr. Baker looked at the hat on the chair. "Yes, sir. That's my hat. There's no question about it." He was a big man with a big head, an intelligent face, and grey hair. I remembered Holmes's words about him. He wore a dirty old black coat, with no shirt under it, but he spoke slowly, quietly, and carefully. I looked at him and listened to him, and I thought, yes, This is an intelligent man. He was rich once, but now he has no money, and things aren't easy for him. We found your hat and your goose some days ago, said Holmes. But we couldn't find you very easily, Mr. Baker. We didn't know your address. Why didn't you put an advertisement in the newspaper with your address in it? We waited and waited for an advertisement from you, but saw nothing. Mr. Baker smiled. Oh, I'm sorry. Advertisements are expensive, and I haven't got a lot of money these days. I had once, but not now, he went on. And, well, I thought those young men in Tottenham Court Road had my hat and my goose, and I didn't want to put an expensive advertisement in the newspaper for nothing. I understand, said Holmes. Now, before we say more, I must tell you something about your goose, Mr. Baker. I'm sorry, but, well, we ate it yesterday. You know. You ate it? Said our visitor, and he stood up excitedly. Yes. Well, we didn't want it to go bad, you see. But we bought a nice new goose this morning for you. It's on the table there, by the door. Is that all right for you? Oh, yes, yes, said Mr. Baker happily. He sat down again. And let's see. I think we have your old goose's feet, head, and everything from inside it in the kitchen. Do you want those? The man laughed. No, no, he said. But I'd like to take that nice new goose home with me. Thank you very much. Sherlock Holmes looked at me with a little smile. Very well, he said to Mr. Baker. There is your hat, and there is your bird. Please take them. Oh, and before you go, can you tell me something? Where did you get your goose? I know a lot about geese, and that was a very good bird, I can tell you. Well, sir, said Baker. He stood up and took his hat and the goose in his hands. I got that bird at the Alpha, a pub near the British Museum. This year, the owner of the pub, Mr. Windygate, began a goose club. Every week, we all put 5 or 6 pence into a money box, and at Christmas time, we all had the money for a goose. With that, he said goodbye and left. Well, said my detective friend, that answers one question. Mr. Baker is not our diamond thief. Are you hungry, Watson? Ooh, no, not very. Let's eat later, then. We must go to the Alpha at once. We need to speak to Mr. Windygate tonight.
Well, as I promised, here is the task for you to check how you understood the story. Тож, як і обіцяла, ось завдання для вас, щоб перевірити, як ви зрозуміли цю історію. Choose the right word to finish the sentence. Оберіть правильні слова, щоб завершити речення. Holmes thinks the diamond is wonderful and good, beautiful but bad, nice and cheap. Holmes thinks the diamond is beautiful and bad. Mr. Baker didn't put an advertisement in a newspaper because he wasn't interested in his hat and goose. He thought that the police had his hat and goose. An advertisement is expensive and he doesn't have enough money. The advertisement is expensive and he doesn't have much money. Mr. Baker wants his old hat and his old goose. Is happy with a new hat and his old goose. Is happy with his old hat and the new goose. Mr. Baker is happy with his old hat and the new goose. After Mr. Baker leaves, Holmes and Watson go to speak to Jack Horner, the young man in Tottenham Court Road, Mr. Windigate, the owner of the Alpha. Well done! It's time to finish our lesson and have some rest. Час завершати наш урок і відпочивати. See you in a week when we read the fourth chapter. Побачимось за тиждень, коли починаємо читати 4-й розділ. Don't miss it. Не пропустіть його. Take care and goodbye.
Hi everyone, this is Teen Time with Interkless. My name is Alexei, and today we are going to talk with you about Big Apple. By the way, do you know why New York is called Big Apple? There are more interesting information about this city, so don't waste your time and let's get started. Actually, now we are going to visit famous tourist attractions in New York: the Statue of Liberty, a famous skyscraper, Empire State Building, Broadway, Theatrical Street, and the square where many Americans enjoy welcoming New Year, Times Square. Try to be attentive and see the following video presentation and try to do as well as possible. So I wish you good luck. So today we're talking about New York places and what can you see in the city New York is Broadway, the Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, and of course Times Square. These places are very popular. So what is Broadway? Yeah, Broadway is a road in the US state of New York, perhaps best known for the position that runs through the borough of Manhattan in New York City. Going on, next one. We will talk with you about the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, the Statue of Liberty is a colossal neoclassical sculpture on Liberty Island in the middle of New York Harbor. In Manhattan, New York City, the Statue of Liberty, enlightening the world, was a gift of friendship from the people of France to the United States. And going on, Empire State Building. The Empire State Building is 103-story skyscraper located in Midtown Manhattan, New York City, at the intersection of 5th Avenue and West 31st Street. And of course, everyone knows Times Square. Times Square is a major commercial intersection and a neighborhood in Midtown Manhattan, New York City, a junction of Broadway and 7th Avenue and stretching from the West 42nd to the West 47th Streets. In the next video presentation, you have two chances to see the different ideas about New York counties and boroughs. You know, Manhattan is not the only one. There are other and many different neighborhoods. Moreover, you will see interesting facts about New York, boroughs, and what is the most interesting to see for a tourist. Now we have to learn with you New York vocabulary. Neighborhood, a borough, a county, densely populated, multicultural, Big Apple, flourishing, and rich. So these words will help you to talk about New York City: neighborhood, borough, county, densely populated, multicultural, Big Apple, flourishing, and rich. So now New York City is composed of 5 boroughs. Each borough is coexisting with a respective county of New York State. Throughout the borough, there are hundreds of distinct neighborhoods, many with a definable history and characters to call their own. If you look at these boroughs, you will see the first one is Manhattan, next one is Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx, and finally Staten Island. Look at the map and remember these. And now, Manhattan is the most densely populated borough and is home to Central Park and most of the city's skyscrapers. County is New York. and going on. So we have to go and just talk about more things that Bronx County is New York City northernmost borough, the location of Yankee Stadium. And of course, Brooklyn, Kings County, on the western tip of Long Island, is the city's most populous borough and was an independent city until 1898. Brooklyn is known for its cultural, social, and ethnic diversity and independent views. Queens County is a Long Island east of Brooklyn. Geographically is the largest borough and the most ethnically diverse county in the USA. Staten Island, Richmond County is the most suburban in churches and 5 boroughs. Staten Island is connected to Brooklyn by the Verrazano Narrows Bridge and to Manhattan by the way of the free Staten Island Ferry. The Staten Island Ferry is one of the most popular tourist attractions in New York City, and it provides you with a good view. So now we have to work. Yankee Stadium is in Bronx, Central Park is in Manhattan, Famous Ferry is in Staten Island, and Statue of Liberty is in, yes, Liberty Island. Why is New York called Big Apple? That is a question many people ask. The Big Apple is a nickname for New York City. It was first popularized in 1920s by John Fitzgerald, a sports writer for New York Morning Telegraph. So people today call New York Big Apple. What are other nicknames for New York? New York has many other nicknames, Metropolis for example, or you can say New Amsterdam. By the way, it was the first name of New York and the center of the universe. Many people think it's really important. The city, and of course the city that never sleeps. The city is so nice they named it twice. We have done a lot of work today, and you know that New York has different boroughs, tourists visit different places. So I wish you a successful day, have successful English classes, take care and goodbye.